the history of it. It's just amazing. I mean, I was here for probably 15 or 20 years before I realized it.
In 1928, the Riverside Music Studio in Tulsa, Oklahoma was bought by Richard Dickinson. Dickinson was a part of a small group of veteran actors who called themselves the Spotlight Club. The club needed a place to meet and perform, so in 1953, they began performing in Dickinson's studio, a tradition that has continued for 64 years.
I mean, we kind of became unwitting custodians of this building because Mr. Dickinson was his name that bought the building after the original owner died, and he had to restore it to some extent to make it livable again because it had been empty throughout most of the Depression and the 30s and up into the 40s.
The actors at the time knew they needed a show, but what?
They would meet at Mike's restaurant downtown and make plans on how they were going to do that. Well, Dickinson finally said, well, let me rewrite this play and we'll call it a different thing.
Dickinson cut the 3-hour show called 10 Nights in a Barroom to a shorter version now known as The Drunkard.
They invited their friends and family on a Saturday night, and it started November 14th in 1953. And it was a packed house, and people started asking for more nights, and it just kind of started evolving from there.
The show did more than evolve. It survived and thrived. The Drunkard would go on to be performed every Saturday for the next 64 years. It has now been confirmed as the longest-running play in America, with more than 250,000 people seeing it over the years.
We're actually extending and re-evolving an art form every time we do it. And so people that walk in the door are a part of history, which is kind of cool as well.
Before every performance of The Drunkard, there is the tradition of the oleo, which equates to a talent show of sorts for anyone who wants the chance to perform.
When I got started down here, I just was impressed with the fact that we'll let anybody that has ever had any aspirations to get on stage and to perform, or maybe there were young kids that had a talent for dancing or playing guitar or whatever they did, and it gives them a professional and a good venue in which to perform.
After the oleo has ended, the real show begins. The Drunkard is a tale about the dangers of alcohol and a comedic vaudeville style of acting with a cast and crew to match.
All right, Squire. It's getting so dark outdoor you can't see your hand before your face.
Unlike most theaters, food and drinks are welcome at the Spotlight. The theater has a full menu, ironically including alcohol, with waitresses to serve you throughout the show. All these things combined make the Drunkard and the Spotlight Theater not only a Tulsa tradition, but a national one. But to the people who make it all happen, it's something more than that.
I like the audience. They're glad to be here, either their first time or they came back because they used to come here, when they were younger. Their parents brought them here. And it's really cool just to see the looks on their faces when they see the show open up.
It's a good, clean, wholesome environment, for kids as well as adults. And it's one of the few G-rated shows that's still left.
Although The Drunkard has been performed for 64 years straight, it has never gotten old.
It's not unusual for people going through the greeting line at the end of the show to say, this is the most fun I've ever had in my life.
The Drunkard is the longest running play in America and shows no sign of stopping.